Welcome to our virtual engineering open house. Today we are having environmental engineering faculty panelists. My name is Luz Manjarres. I'm an academic advisor with the School of Engineering. This is an event of a series of events to help welcome our second year undergraduate students into the School of Engineering. During the first year students see their Bobcat advisor in the Bobcat Advising Center. And then at the completion of their first year, then students transition to their declared major advisors. This event will be recorded and it will be posted on our engineering advising website if you want to go back and refer to it. You may ask questions on the Q&A box. It should be located at the bottom of your screen. So if you have any questions throughout the presentation, just feel free to ask the questions there. Today we have two faculty panelists. Thank you for joining us. We have Professor Thomas Harmon and Professor Josue Medellin. Again, thank you. I will be facilitating this event and will ask each of you some prepared questions. And then we will also have Q&A questions. So if we can go ahead and start, and could you please introduce yourselves and let us know what did you choose to teach at UC Merced? And we'll start with Professor Medellin.
Hello, thanks very much for the invitation. I feel pretty honored to be here. So I'm Josue Medellin. I'm originally from Mexico. I came to the United States about 20 years ago to pursue graduate education. I'm from a very little town in Mexico called Tempoal, Veracruz. It's probably 12,000 people. So I left there when I was 14 to go to high school in the next largest city, about a couple of hours there. And then I moved to a bigger city, a college town north of the country, where I obtained a degree in mechanical and electrical engineering. And then I started working in industry back in 1994. Then I got, while I was working on an MBA, continued to work on the industry and moved to the US as a graduate education. And I pursue a degree in environmental economics, and then in ecology too, my PhD in ecology with emphasis in policy analysis. And then I moved here to UC Merced just 3 years ago in 2017. And I teach a number of classes, including water resources management, hydrology, and climate, and engineering economics for upper division classes. I'm also teach some graduate classes around the same topics. And I enjoyed that I have joined the UC Merced because this is a great community. I think I love much the feeling of building something together and to have a world of opportunities here to make many great things for the Valley and for our communities statewide. So I will leave it there and just can take other questions later.
Thanks, Josue. Hello, everybody. It's great to be here. I'm Tom Harmon, and I'm the department chair of your department, which is Civil and Environmental Engineering. We have two majors, the Environmental Engineering major, and then in the fall of 2021, we'll start the Civil Engineering major as well. So we're going to have a lot of fun, exciting things going on. Hopefully when we get back to normal and start getting back to campus together, we'll all get together and celebrate all these new accomplishments. Let's see. I've been at UC Merced a long time. This is 18 years for me. So when I started at UC Merced, it was some mud and some bulldozers and maybe 8 faculty sitting over at Castle Air Base thinking about what kind of programs we might have here. So it's still a little strange to me when I walk on campus, and it feels so big and real now, because for a while it was just kind of imaginary to me. So I'm glad you're all part of it. It's been a lot of fun. I grew up in northern Illinois in the cornfields, and I moved away to the East Coast to Johns Hopkins University and when I was done with high school, and studied there in Baltimore for 4 years. And then I decided I wanted to see the other coast, so I decided to go to graduate school in California. And so I wondered how I was going to get to California, and I had an idea of putting putting an ad in the paper in the Chicago paper, and I asked if anybody needed a car driven to California. And my parents thought I was crazy, but 3 days later, I got a response. And so I drove, you will never hear of this car, but I drove a Plymouth Horizon from Chicago to California. It has a very small motor and barely made it over the Sierra Nevada mountains. But I still remember like yesterday, coming over Highway 80 past the Truckee River and Lake Tahoe. And all I could think of was, why did no one tell me about this place before? Anyway, here I was, 21 years old in California, and I, no smartphones back then, so I took out my map and I found my way over to Stanford University, and I went to grad school there for a while, and that was just great. And then I got a job in 1992, probably before you guys were born. I got the job at UCLA, and I went down the coast to UCLA, and I taught there in civil and environmental engineering for about 11 years. And then I heard a rumor about a new University of California campus that's about to start up. And you never know what feelings are going to strike you in life. I was having a great time at UCLA. It's a wonderful place. But something about going someplace with a fresh canvas and being able to build something new made me excited. And so I decided to come here. And it's been a really fun time building the environmental program and now building the civil engineering program, and looking forward to hearing what you think about it and what questions you might have about it.
Thank you both for coming to UC Merced and teaching our amazing students. Could you tell us a little bit about more about the environmental engineering department, about the classes the students need to take, and maybe about the classes that you teach?
Or maybe I can go first a little bit. So environmental engineering at UC Merced, it's a little different at all different places. And our flavor of that major, it's really built on the foundations of the University of California, Merced, which started off with a very strong emphasis on water and sustainability. And so we have some of the, most experienced, I'll say, and I won't say the oldest faculty is in your group in environmental engineering. And we have very strong classes in hydrology, the study of water and how much water is coming down from the mountains every year. Environmental engineering, how clean is that water? How clean is the air? And then we are trying to add a systems way of thinking. So we think about energy, water, even things like justice and equity in society. We try to think of them all together when we solve problems. The old way of looking at things is to just fix the problem at hand. And it's okay, but sometimes when you do that, you break something else and you don't realize it. So we're trying to teach you guys, the next generation, to think of it all at one time when you solve the problems.
Just to add a little bit to Professor Harmon's, we try to see this connection between water, food systems, energy, and in the economic development within a region, and the San Joaquin Valley, where our campus is just ground zero for many of these problems, and a great place to test all this research and some community. So you also get a lot of the traditional classes in engineering programs, in environmental engineering, not only around water, but other topics that can help you just pursue a career as an engineer, either in industry, academia, and a graduate education, NGOs, or government agencies. So,
I guess as second-year students, a lot of you will be taking ENVE 20 this year, which is probably your first real environmental engineering course. And this course is designed to give you a flavor of all the parts of the major that you'll be coming into. Probably in your first year, you were scratching your head wondering what's so special about this major. I feel like it's physics and chemistry and math. But now I hope you'll start to see it, and it'll just become more focused on the major after you get through the 20 course.
Yeah, and talking about academics, what are some good academics behaviors for students to be successful in engineering, or even in their lower division environmental engineering course?
well, I can just tell a few. Number one is not very popular, but reading. Just trying to absorb as much information as you can read and become like a really voracious reader. Try to keep this thirst for knowledge. Long pieces, short pieces. Reading is a great habit. Can take you a long way. Unfortunately, technology now, in my opinion, is brings you into this just a few words, and then you get into something else. But taking the time to reading with some depth, either your courses or anything you feel passionate about, is just great. Second one is working teams. Learn to work with others, so you will be put wherever you go into a location, unless you will work in isolation later in your career. You will work with teams, and those are picked randomly most of the time for you. So you will have to just learn to reconcile points of view and many other things, and just towards pursuit of a goal. Uh, just I'm a yes person for everything, so I will just say if something really sounds exciting, just say yes and just try, join the team, and time will tell if it was something for you. But you try, you learn something new, and it is all experience. And and the last one is always act with integrity with your team members, with yourself, and with your classes, with anything you pursue on, so you can sleep good at night for all the good decisions that you take, that you always feel the tranquility that you did the best that you could do. Otherwise, you never rest really. In so those are just like a few things I think could be helpful.
I think that's great advice, Josue. I can't add too much, but I would say, be brave. This is college. This is a place where you should try things. Try the courses. Don't be afraid of things. You might get an occasional bad grade on a homework or something. Take it as a learning experience and move on. Don't dwell on it. Figure out where the mistakes were and fix it. It doesn't really matter at that moment that there were some little mistakes made. It matters that just you learn from them and put them on your tool belt so that you gain knowledge as you go through this. So I would say also, I would really underscore the comment about working together and trying to learn together. You all went to different high schools. Somebody had a great chemistry teacher. Somebody had a great math teacher. You all have strengths in different areas, so you can learn a lot from each other. And then the key thing, though, in the group setting is to be honest with yourself. Make sure you understood it and didn't just want to get that homework done. So take it home and look at it again if you have doubts, and so that you can feel good about your contribution and not realize later that you didn't really understand it.
Thank you. And this question is from the Q&A. Before we move on to the next one, how many courses are kind of hands-on. I would assume project-based. The students are actually doing these projects.
I would say that when you get into the 100 level classes, so this is your third and fourth year classes, most of the classes will have a project associated with them. So the class will kind of be like maybe 8 weeks of learning the concepts and learning the topic of hydrology, for example, or wastewater treatment, for example. And then you really exercise your knowledge by doing a project on how would we make a reactor to change chemical A into chemical B kind of question and work together on that sort of thing. So those are partially project classes. Then we would have some really hands-on classes. These will be your field labs. You're required to take at least one field lab, but you can take two if you can fit it in your schedule. They're small classes, 2-unit classes. And for example, I teach one called Field Methods in Subsurface Hydrology, and we learn how to drill holes into the soil and sample the soil, and how water moves in the soil, and how weather patterns affect the soil and the groundwater. So these are fun. We come in our blue jeans and our old shirts, and we get our hands dirty, and we see how the textbooks match with the soil outside, and that's the best part for me.
Just adding quickly to that, you get also the capstone courses at the end, and Tom can comment, Professor Harmon can comment more on that. The 3 classes I teach, as Professor Harmon said, have some design project component. And the idea for me is it has multiple purposes. One is you wrap up all the knowledge. The second one is you work in teams towards the solution of some sort of practical application. You see how this works in a real environment. In our hydrology and climate class, for example, we do a forensic analysis of what happened to Oroville Dam when it was the incident back in 2017. And in engineering economics, we do analysis of if something is economically worthwhile, financially worthwhile to pursue. You're not, because financial considerations are always parts of every project. So I just to add a little bit to the practical part.
Yeah, that's like capstone is a good point. Degree. One of the last classes you'll take will be capstone design. And this is, like it sounds, it's the stone that caps off your education. And in this case, you may have a real client in the real world who tells you in a few sentences what their problem is. And so the first thing you have to do is you have to behave like a professional engineer, and you have to ask them some more questions to really understand what they need. Because sometimes if they're not engineers, they know what their problem is, but they can't articulate it very well. So part of your job is to tease the information out of them on how much, what they really need done, how soon do they need it done, these kinds of things. And then you go about getting in your team and figuring out a solution and presenting it to them. And this will be really good interactions with clients, possibly even leading to jobs. We've had people in the past just be hired by the client. They were so happy and so impressed with the work. And then you actually go and do the project for real, instead of just kind of, we do a little version of the project here because of time constraints and of course budget. We can't have everybody build a treatment plant in their class. But so that there should be a good dose of good experiences and hands-on activities in the class. And your major is a nice size, so the classes won't be too overwhelmingly large.
And how can undergraduate students take graduate level courses? And if they have the opportunity to do this, when would be a good time for them to take them?
Any undergraduate can request taking a graduate course. They would need to ask the instructor of that course. So it would probably be for example, you have a required course in hydrology. Josue teaches this course. So of course, first you would take the undergraduate version of hydrology. And if you really liked it, then you could request to Josue, hey, can I take your graduate version of the course as well? And that would make sense because you have the background for it. But not right now because you don't have the background yet. You wouldn't appreciate it so much. You might enjoy listening, but you might like it a lot more after you took the basic course first.
I agree. And then like the students in the third, fourth year oftentimes are thinking into graduate school, but due to some admissions or season or something like that, they might want to take some classes in advance. And, you know, to the extent that they have the background, that is possible.
Thank you. That's a perfect explanation. What advice would you give students that are performing well versus students that might have been having some academic difficulty?
Right?
I think the students who I like to tell all students that they want to feel challenged. If you feel too comfortable and too happy with everything, maybe you're not pushing yourself to learn what you can. Everyone has a potential they can reach, and believe me, you can go really far if you put your mind to it. You just have to really focus and do it and decide you're going to do it. So that kind of is advice for both the student who's doing well and the student that's not doing so well. But the student who's not doing so well, we have to maybe talk with the advisors. I think talk with a faculty member. We haven't emphasized this so much in this discussion, but let me just say, you have these great advisors here who can help you to organize your coursework and navigate the problems of the university. But you also have faculty that is really, really happy to get to know you. And you can come to office hours of your classes. You don't have to have a great question about the homework. You can have a question about what it's like to be an environmental engineer and what should I do in the summer after my second year to get a good job, and these kinds of questions. Or I just don't feel like I'm fitting in this major and maybe I'm thinking about it wrong. Can you help me to think about it a different way? Because sometimes everybody loses motivation every once in a while. Everybody gets in a kind of I call it an unlucky streak where things seem like they're going bad for a while. And, that's life. One of the secrets of life is to endure and be resilient to those times. We're all in a big unlucky time right now, and we're all trying to be resilient. And we try, I tell myself every day, wow, I have extra time to read that I never had to read. Isn't that great? And think, it's a little bit about mental games sometimes, right? And so if you're having a hard time, I think talk about it. Talk about it with the advisors, talk about it with your faculty member who can be a good mentor. Talk about it with the TA for your course. Explain, this is what I'm doing. These are my techniques. Can you think of a better way to approach this that maybe will help me to learn it better? Be proactive about it. And I think most of the time, if you put your mind to it, you'll be surprised. You can overcome most anything.
I actually just have very little to add to that. I will just summarize in speak for yourself. I mean, just ask. I missed that part in the other question about some keys for success. Just speak up. Are you having trouble? I like many faculty in our department are willing to talk to you and are willing to work through the problems, and we won't give you anything for free. You have to do your work, but it helps everyone to identify what the challenges are if you just speak for yourself. Nothing to be ashamed of. So you did bad in a homework, that's just learning, and oftentimes you can just recover real quick if you put your mind to it, as Professor Harmon said. Just so speak early, speak up for yourself. Don't wait till the day before the exam that you're in total panic. Just go talk to the faculty member and we'll get it sorted out together. I mean, we are here for your success, not. I mean, and that's my way of saying it.
Thank you. And could you talk a little bit about your research interest and how can students start looking to start doing research?
Go ahead, Jose.
Yeah. Well, my research interests are kind of broad, mostly around water resources. I study water resources management, which is essentially allocation of water for cities, the environment, agriculture. Uh, I use systems thinking, just try to see what parts of the systems are involved in studying a problem. Just try to make sure that we don't break something else before we fix something, we think. So we need to think everything as an integration. Also, agricultural production, what crops are grown in our wonderful Central Valley, which is the largest agricultural region in the world. How that connects to communities is how you have employment, income opportunities in the Central Valley as related to agriculture, and how agriculture cascades into other sectors such as processing and livestock and dairies, many things together. I also look into adaptation to climate change and how that might affect our ability to use water in the future and the challenges that come as into effect, and consumptive water use, which is the part that it is consumed of water that is not recovered. So when you have a plant, there's a portion of that water that the plant uses that just evaporates, and that doesn't come back to the system. And is part of my research is studying that using satellite information, local metering, and other things. And you know, it's around those things.
Yeah. So I like to think about how chemicals move around in the environment. Sometimes that chemical is simply the very important chemical water, but other times it's pollutants that come from our factories or for our farms. How do we use those chemicals? Where do they land? Do they tend to be in the water? Do they tend to be in the soil? Do they tend to be in the groundwater? And then what's the best thing to do when we find these chemicals there? How can we make the chemical, how can we collect it? Or how can we make the local microbes consume the chemical so it goes away in another fashion? And then how can people in different parts of society share their water and share and manage their chemicals better so that we don't have these similar problems in the future? This is kind of the way I look at things.
Thank you. Could you also explain how would students benefit from internships or research, and how can they apply for those opportunities? And if you know any opportunities that might be through UC Merced, and that they could be done outside of Merced.
I can just talk from what I know is internships. Internships give a world perspective on practical problems, and they can be in government, industry, academia, and non-governmental organizations. I think we have an internship in Career Center, if I'm not mistaken. That's probably Professor Carmo can comment on that. I think they offer great work perspective. Usually they are targeted to some specific project or outcome, which is really good. But it is a great opportunity to also obtain a job later on. It's people oftentimes prefer people they have already been involved in projects and things.
Yeah, I think for the internships, a couple of things. One, start looking early for the summer internships. Too many people wait for April or May. and many decisions have been made by then. This is especially if you don't live in the Merced area. If you live, back in the Bay Area or in the LA area or something like that, you can look for companies. Another question you can ask a faculty member. I live in, West LA. What are some names of some companies that are in that region that would be good and might have internships? And I would quickly send you several of them to check out, maybe even a contact to email directly. We also send out emails. I know you get a lot of emails from the university, and so do I. Try to train yourself to look for emails from people like Carla Gonzalez, who I see is on our meeting here. We really do try to think of you, and we get middle of busy time, we get an email from a company saying, hey, we're having internships this year, can you get the word out? And so we send it out to the majors. And so these kinds of things may look like spam at first, but sometimes take a look. There's actually really information in there that can lead to a scholarship, lead to an internship. Good things can happen. So while you have your spare moments and stuff, maybe take a look at those things. And then with respect to research, if I know we are, the University of California is a research institution, and there's a lot of great research going on. And so I think the best way is, again, to think about your classes. Which classes are you really enjoying? If it's all of them, great. Then ask your advisors, ask your faculty instructors, and ask your TAs if they have opportunities for you. But sometimes it's like one or two types of classes that you really like. And a really good way to learn about the research in those classes is to talk to the TAs, get some help on the homework, but also maybe take 5 or 10 minutes and ask this person what kind of research they're doing. Get a feel for it. Could you use an extra pair of hands? Be willing, be flexible. For example, maybe say, hey, how about if I volunteer this semester, and then maybe next semester, if things work out, you could give me credit for this. Then I've seen students, they go through that volunteer, credit, and then summer full pay internship doing the research, and they love it. And that's really a gold brick when you decide if you're going to grad school or get a job or something, when you've got a nice long research experience, and maybe even gone to a conference and presented a poster about it, or this sort of thing. This is a really nice professional goal that really will help make your coursework more real.
That was great. Are there any clubs or organizations that you're aware of that you recommend for students to get involved in?
I think there's lots of good ones. I would say check them out, and maybe pick one, maybe two. Don't try to do them all. Try to really participate in the one that makes sense to you. There's gosh, I've got all the acronyms in my head. I'm trying to remember what their actual names are. But there's SHIP, and there's NSBE, and there's Engineers for a Sustainable World that work on projects for the communities. There's I think Vanguard is an organization of all the different engineers that go together. It's a really good place to make a community of friends in your major, and some of them have multiple majors in them. But as you know, a lot of the classes, like fluid mechanics, environmental or engineering economics, statics and dynamics, there's a lot of mix of majors in there. So you find someone who you work well with and make a working group with, have some social and professional activities with them. It can be really enriching for your college experience, and really make it fun and help make you better.
I have not much to add there, but just to again build up in that just pick a couple that looks interesting, and you can always try something later on in terms of organizations.
What type of jobs can students find in the Valley? And I'm assuming in the Central Valley.
Well, there's various sectors that can hire graduates from our program. I think I mentioned some of them is industry, definitely, consulting companies, environmental engineering companies, some startups on agribusiness, construction. There's also government agencies. There's a few branches of the state agencies in the nearby area in Fresno, Turlock, Modesto, Merced. So governments, irrigation districts, they also offer some job opportunities. And then academia, there's a possibility always of pursue graduate education after you conclude your undergrad. It's not exactly like a full-time job, but in a way it's a way of building up some more upon your existing education or your past education. And government agencies, NGOs, there's a lot of environmental organization that works in issues related to the valley or the communities. So that's another possibility, and that's what I can think of.
That's pretty good. Pretty good. I'll just add that you know, we're uniquely located next to the national parks, so there's some federal government potential jobs with the National Park Service. They have engineers who handle the operation and maintenance and design of facilities in the parks. The Forest Service is a big presence in the area, and the Bureau of Land Management, Bureau of Reclamation, running operating the big dams and the hydropower parts of the valley. So yeah, there's a lot of different things going on. So you should be able to keep busy.
Thank you. And when should students start deciding if they want to pursue graduate education or if they just want to go into the workforce?
Well, I think if you start with the application process and work backwards, most of the graduate programs would want to see your application in the fall semester if you're coming the following fall. So so in the beginning of probably in the second half of your third year or the second to your last year, whichever that may be, that's where you should maybe, if you feel like you're thinking about it, that's the time to have maybe some serious talks with your faculty mentors or some graduate students are good examples of people who are in the middle of graduate school, so they can tell you a lot about it. Again, your TA contact. So maybe like during your third year, you start to do it. Maybe you had a little taste of research and you found that you liked it. Maybe you took a course on water treatment and you just loved it and you want more. So you want to think of maybe getting a master's degree that focuses on that topic. These are times when you see something you really like, just go ahead and talk to that TA and that professor and say, hey, I really like this stuff. How can I really guarantee that I'm going to have a career in this? And they'll say, oh, you're going to either you stay here and work with me, I have a new grant, or go up to UC Davis and we'll write you a letter to do a master's degree there. This is maybe, you know, when you get into the required classes and you start to really get a feel for the different possibilities, then let yourself think about that and start talking to us and we'll help.
Just along the same lines, I will just say, try to get involved as an undergraduate research assistant and in a lab, and that will give you a great perspective on how the process looks like, and don't go like blind into the process to say it somehow. But so really having a little bit of research experience and learn early about the process it will be very helpful.
And Professor Harmon, you talked about mentors, right? Can you explain, maybe for those that have not been exposed, what is a mentor and how can students find those mentors?
Yes, so generally a mentor is someone who you feel comfortable with speaking about your career goals, both finding those career goals, identifying what you think is a good path for yourself, and then pursuing that path. What's a good way to go about it? What's some good advice? So someone you trust, you're comfortable maybe sharing what you think your strengths and weaknesses are. And this is a person who can get to know you. You're comfortable together, so you can talk about getting to know where you want to go, what you want to do. Do you have geographical limitations, or do you want to go anywhere in the world? You know, these kinds of things. So generally, it's someone who is in the area that you want to pursue, but it doesn't have to be. It can just be someone who's generally knowledgeable about the environmental engineering or the civil engineering topics. They know enough to give you good advice, but you just feel okay talking to them, and you meet with them occasionally, and it helps to sort things out, because you know, ideas and preferences change over time. So it's good to just have several conversations about it and keep talking about it, and you'll see it begins to take shape, and all of a sudden, before you know it, you have a fixed, good, strong plan.
So do you have any, either of you, do you have any advice for students that might want to reach out to a faculty member, but they don't know how to talk to them, or they might be shy because they're not used to approaching professionals or even their professors?
Yeah.
Well, you know, as I was saying earlier, just speak up a little bit for yourself. So just I understand the challenges of trying to approach some faculty. I had those myself when I was a student. It can be very intimidating, but we are most of the time we're pretty open to speak. I love to see people in office hours, and we end up in long conversations about uh, anything, and just try to give the confidence to students that they can come back anytime and look for advice, and not only on the class but career, other things. Just something as simple as an email, just saying, hey, I would like to stop by your office, or just to have these days a Zoom meeting or something, office hours, can I come by? And you will obtain a good positive response, or at least I try to give a really quick and positive response and be very welcoming, so you keep coming back and, uh, and, uh, and learn together on whatever you want to learn on.
Yeah, I think that really, I always get a little sad when nobody takes advantage of office hours, because I think the idea a lot of people have is that, well, if I don't have problems on this homework, then there's no reason to go to office hours. But there's so many good reasons to go, and we really do set aside this time, and we don't have to talk about the class material. We can talk about, you know, what do you think you want to do this summer, and these kinds of things. So this is the best. You know, I'll be honest with you. All the faculty are super busy, so office hours are the best times to guarantee it. But that being said, if you have something urgent or important or some crisis you want to talk about, we can find the time, and we will make the time. So please believe me, we don't need like a big long email explaining who you are and where you came from and all these things. It's like, just say I'm a student in your major. I wanted to talk about hydrology and what kinds of jobs you get for hydrologists. That's all we need. And we'll say, hey, here's a couple of times tomorrow. Do any of these work for you? And you know, we don't have to have big formal letters or anything about this. Just come by.
Thank you for setting time for our students and being willing to guide them a little bit about the career, especially since the majority of our students are first gen. And our next question is, how can students focus their technical electives for career opportunities?
Yeah, that's good. That's a good question. Yeah. So I think it's sometimes hard to play the game of guessing like what the hot technical elective is that's going to, but think about the skills that you want to have. Skills are something that the employer is going to want to talk about in an interview. Think about programming. You know, yes, I'm an environmental engineer. I know something about water. I know something about this. Think about that question in the interview. Well, what kind of computer tools do you use to solve your problems? Then if you feel like, oh well, maybe those skills could be a little stronger, I need to get some exercise on those skills, then that can guide you to the classes that you need to take, because you know we're all the same. You know, nobody wants to go to the gym every day, and if they have to do it on their own, maybe they won't go. But if you have a class that's asking you to program 3 days a week, then you go and you program 3 days a week. So it's a good way to get this exercise and think of it as like you can actually see the skill you're getting. Another one, you know, everybody wants to see pretty maps now of every project. They want to see a nice diagram with the topography of the land, the shape of the hills around it. So everybody wants to have good skills in ArcGIS or spatial software. So this is another thing they would say, like, how are your GIS skills? And these are courses that are, for you, electives would be like spatial analysis, ENGR 180 would be a great technical elective to take. And ENVE 152, remote sensing. You know, a lot of the world's information is coming from the sky now. And you want to be a person who grabs that information and uses it, because that will be a great career path. You'll never be in short supply of jobs. You'll never have a problem when you have those kinds of skills.
Just to add a little, other is just looking the catalog, looking the name of the class, and there's most of the time there's a link to the syllabus. And again, you don't have to eat the whole syllabus, but you will get a good sense of what is seen in the class. And the third step, I will just say, is once you've done that, just write an email to the instructor. And the instructor, both with the benefit of having skimmed through the syllabus and just say, hey, I looked that in your class you covered this, this, and this. I'm looking for this. I'm interested. It looks interesting. Can you tell me how is this about? And the instructor will be pretty excited. I can tell you that that you went through the syllabus and just gather some ideas from then, and then you're asking about the class. You cannot do that for every class. You cannot read 300 pages of syllabus combined, I'm pretty sure, but there will be some elective classes which will ring a bell, and you will say, well, this might look like something interesting, and instructors can help a lot.
What Professor Medellin says made me think too, back to one of our earlier questions about joining some clubs and things. You know, there will be older students in those clubs. And that is just a really great resource, is to have the network and say, hey, Jim, I was gonna take this course and it's offered in the fall and the spring. Did you take it? Which instructor teaches the ArcGIS better? And you know, they may say, oh, you know, they say they get to that, but they don't really get to that. You want to take this class will get you that. You know, so they can really tell you like what the hot classes are that you're really going to learn in.
Thank you. We have 2 more questions. What have been some challenges that you have faced or that might be currently facing in your academic career?
Well, I'll start just to alternate, but I think my own weakness is my main challenge. Is I like to learn everything. I like to do everything, and you know, with when you do that, you end up with a very little time. So, but I enjoy it very much. I enjoy learning new things. I enjoy every part of my job, which is teaching, doing some surveys, meeting with students, conducting research, learn coding, mapping. Anything I can have at my reach is just like toys for me. So I but at the same time, sometimes you end up with a lot to do, and then you need to balance what is for me that finding that balance of at the level of that you want on something and the things that you want to do is always a bit challenging. Too many good things to decide from. That's
Yeah.
my challenge.
Yeah, I would say, you know, research by definition is working on something that you don't know the answer to. So every time you hit challenges that are unexpected. And so for me, you know, that has become fun. It's a challenge to explore the unknown and come to the answer. And to me, as soon as the answer becomes visible, it becomes kind of less interesting. I want to go to a more of an unknown problem. Um, but you know, I think back of when I was in high school, so a little younger than you guys are now, and I had a few summer jobs. You know, I was working in a factory, I was painting houses, and I remember coming home to dinner one night and telling my parents that, you know, I don't know exactly what I want to do in my life, but I want to make sure that I don't have a job where I'm checking the clock all the time. I really want to be enjoying it and busy, and the time goes by. And so I think similar to what Professor Medellin is saying is that find your passion in this work. You know, it really is interesting. There's a lot of distractions in the world, but if you allow yourself really to think about this stuff and read about it, and we can help you find reading that's appropriate for your level. And you'll find that it is just so interesting. And next thing you know, it's, you know, that's really the difference between a career and just a job. And you want to have a career, I think, and really enjoy what you're doing, and, you know, come in, put your lunch down in the refrigerator, get busy. Before you know it, it's time to lunch. Get busy again. Before you know it, oh, time to go home, time to pick up the kids from school. It's really, really exciting and fun if you just kind of embrace it and don't think of it as something like, you know, like high school. How do I get this done? You know, how do I get finished with this? It's better to think about it as like, how can I keep learning to be a little better and really enjoy this?
Thank you. And finally, you already shared a lot of advice, but what would be like the last message or advice you would give students that are starting their second year?
Well, I will just say, enjoy, embrace everything. I mean, this is going back. I started my undergrad 30 years ago, maybe 1989, and heading back, that was the best time I had. One of the best times. It's like how can I? It's a stage in life, and but that was really great. So embrace everything. Just meet people, learn everything that is at your reach. Learn from failing. Failing is important. Just learning from failure, and you know, just take anything at your reach and use it later on. You know, it's fun. It's a good life.
Great advice. You know, I think you probably realize that you're in a challenging major, and maybe some of your friends are in other majors that are a little more flexible, a little less homework every week. So accept that and realize, you know, now it's my second year. I'm learning how to schedule my time. I'm learning how to organize my time into blocks where I have time for doing things that I really need to focus on. Other time that maybe I don't need to focus so much. Maybe I'm just cleaning up the work and making some graphs or something like that. Make sure you give yourself time to really think and learn the material. And when you're comfortable with that, it, like you kind of hit your stride. If you were jogging or something, you feel like you're in a comfortable jog now, then try some other things. What else can I do to enrich my experience? Can I join a club? Can I knock on a door and try to talk to someone about working in their lab? You know, just incrementally make yourself feel challenged. Don't become too complacent. Just enjoy it and always stretch a little bit. Always stretch a little bit, because then you'll find your limits and be able to grow. But if you don't do it, if you don't try and fail once in a while, you may not find what you can really be capable of.
Thank you both so much for the great advice that you have given our students and for sharing your knowledge. We really appreciate it. So this session has concluded. We will be posting this information session on our advising website. Again, thank you so much and have a great day.
Thank you, Luz, and thanks for all the great work you guys do.
Thank you.